If you're learning to handstand, you've probably found by now that the journey can be a little bit ambiguous because no one's ever told you what the stages are that you need to move through. Everyone's just going to feed you the next progression, but you don't know how that whole thing sticks together to actually achieve the goal that you are focusing on. So let me break it down in this video for you. I'm going to give you some key milestones that you can achieve, which are going to build the foundations that you need ultimately to move to a freestanding handstand hold. But we're going to do that in a way that each stage is going to be super efficient. So you're not the person in the gym just kicking up endlessly trying to do a freestanding handstand with no building blocks underneath that to actually create the conditions for success. So let's dive in and have a look at those progressions in the order which you need to move through them in. The first piece of the puzzle is to get strong close to ground. Now that might not feel much like a handstand, but it's super important for building confidence in an inverted position, but also for building shoulder capacity. When we go up against the wall, it's going to be a significant amount of practice that you need to do in order to build the skill acquisition phase so you can actually do the handstand freestanding. What the frog stand progressions give us is an opportunity to create high levels of force, build strength and capacity in the shoulders, which means that our practice against the wall is going to be of a higher quality because we're not kicking up on tired shoulders all the time. So gripping the floor, I'm going to drop in, I'm going to go for a bent arm position to begin with, rather than just kind of resting in that shape. The real strength piece comes in as I'm going to push hard into the ground. You might not go anywhere, but your intention is to isometrically create a ton of pressure into the floor to build that capacity through the shoulders. Now, if you can move to a straight arm position and do the same thing, pushing, 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 again, a good solid 10-second hold, put some multiple sets of that together. It's going to do a massive job of building that shoulder strength and capacity that you need. Now let's get into our wall practice. Now this is the phase of handstand training which is the most important, the most effective, but the most of the time people skip it way too quickly because they're in a rush to get to freestanding practice. So many times you find people have moved into that freestanding space, but they are constantly just falling over. The wall allows us to rack up time on task. The support that it provides means that you can make those small corrections and give your brain more exposure to the skill you're trying to learn, as opposed to kicking up in free space and then constantly falling over. So this first skill we can practice in line with our frog stand, right? This is going to be our early stages. We can work close to the ground and then we can also go into a more specific shape. So we're going to want a really confident and sustained wall kick up in a good shape. So get out of this bent back shape into the nice tall alignment. And you're going to want to build up to a place where you can take both feet off the wall and you want to be able to hold that in a good position. And we want a solid, consistent, repeatable 10-second hold. When you've got that nailed down, super important you get that squared away, then move to the next stage. Our next progression is going to be looking at how we can combine the kick-up position that we are going to need in free space with our wall handstand practice. Now, so many times people jump into that freestanding space and they waste a ton of energy kicking up, either toppling over the top or not kicking up enough, and it's just a really inefficient way to practice. We can use the wall with our kick up to practice how hard we need to kick to find our balance point. What we want to do is go up, not touch the wall, but still go and find our place for a 10-second hold. So in here, I'm going to find my kick up position, I'm going to set up, I'm going to kick. You might take a couple of repetitions to find your strength point or your balance point, and then ultimately, I haven't touched the wall, I've found my hold position. The real value of this position is if I overkick, I can just touch the wall, tap back, and then get into my balance hold again, which means I haven't wasted that rep. Rather than going in free space, kicking up, falling over, having to repeat it, even if I kick up and touch the wall, I can still rack up quality practice in that balance hold, rest, come back again, try and do that kick up, don't touch the wall until we can consistently nail that piece of the puzzle down. Now at that point, you might be in a rush to move over to free space. I'm going to put the brakes on quickly and going to give you a little bit of a icing on the cake for your handstand hold, which is going to make your progression way more effective. Now you could do this practice alongside the wall kick up practice because I want you to get into a wall facing handstand hold as well. Lots of times people will go into free space and they end up handstanding in a banana back position, which is a super normal part of learning to handstand. If you want to straighten your handstand up, you're going to want to come back and do some wall facing handstand practice to better learn that alignment shape. If we do it now, before we're in a rush to nail down our handstand, We're just putting extra levels of skill, a higher level of skill in our locker so that when we go into our balance position in free space, we've got more tools to play with. So this will be your walk-up position. So I'm going to get into my handstand shape. Again, same principles as before. Nice long shape, and I'm going to find my balance point as I come off the wall. And can I hold here? And then I can always just play around, building up that time on task again. So if I can kick up, hold 10 seconds, walk up, hold 10 seconds, I have definitely earned the right to go and start to practice my freestanding progressions. Right, time to stick it all together then, and we're going to use some of the skills which we've used, particularly the pendulum kick up, which you used for the wall kick up handstand hold. Now the pendulum means that we leave one leg behind and we take one into our balance point. The important piece is there is that rather than kicking both legs up and toppling over the top, we can start to find a little bit more control and sensitivity in where our balance point is, and then we can go and stick the feet together to complete the pattern. So take a split stance, use the same kick up position like you did on the wall, same skill, but we're in open space. Now, kick through, find your balance point, and then it's just a matter of bringing those feet together, holding your handstand. And this piece is going to be probably the most frustrating at times because there's less margin for error, but it's one you're going to have to go through to really build up that quality practice. But if we've got the building blocks in place prior to coming to this stage, this piece is far more efficient. Where people get frustrated, give up, and they get stuck is when they come too quickly to free space without anything to back it up, and you're ultimately going to practice only to find that you need to go back and do some of the work which you skipped along the way. So those are your progressions: frog stand, wall kick up progressions, wall facing, get that pendulum kick up in freestanding space, work through those stages, hit those 10-second holds. Those are your milestones, and earn the right to progress as you go through. And that is what your skill journey toward a handstand hold looks like.